Welcome back. All right, let's jump straight into today's explainer. We're unpacking the absolutely incredible journey of Lindsay Keene. We're looking at a story that takes a character from being this completely ordinary, helpless little infant to an absolute powerhouse. It's honestly a masterclass in secret power scaling, relentless discipline, and just outsmarting a world totally overrun by monsters. So think about this. What would you do if you were reborn with an infinite leveling system? That's the core premise we're dealing with here. Zichin actually retains his sharp, 33-year-old adult consciousness inside this fragile baby's body. But he's not just some exceptionally smart baby. At barely 33 days old, he unlocks this crazy, cheat-like system that lets his physical attributes just grow infinitely, totally unbound by normal human limits. It's a fantastic hook that immediately sets the stage for a really unique kind of grind. And man, he does not waste any time exploiting this right under his parents' noses. He unlocks a skill called Use and Advance, which is elegantly simple. Any body part you train just grows infinitely stronger. So by 3 months old, he's literally grinding out 10,000 kicks in his crib. By 6 months, he's secretly doing crawling laps in the dead of night to farm system points. And by the time he hits 2 years old, he is casually lifting a 20-kilogram weight with one hand in the storage room. He masks this whole relentless grind perfectly. So his parents just think they've got a naturally gifted toddler. Now, to really appreciate his advantage here, we've got to look at the extremely dangerous version of Earth he's been born into. It's a world constantly stalked by aberrant beasts. So to survive, humanity has basically split into two mainstream power paths. You've got cyborgs who rely on heavy mechanical and weapon enhancements, and gene fusers who literally splice themselves with monster DNA to get immensely strong. But the real kicker here is that Zichin subverts both of these entirely. He's relying on pure, unadulterated, natural evolution driven by his system, basically carving out a third, completely secret path. And he's smart enough to realize early on that just having physical strength isn't going to cut it. He needs knowledge to understand the 6 biological levels of existence in this universe. So he doesn't just train his body, he goes to work on his mind. By age 4, he tackles this massive system quest to read 100 million characters from these heavy, dense encyclopedias. And the reward? The celestial root of wisdom. This thing is a total game changer. It grants him flawless memory and a completely unmatched learning speed. We're talking mastering academic subjects, martial arts techniques, and daily skills almost instantly. All of this relentless grinding builds up some terrifying raw stats. I mean, by age 4, when most kids are just learning how to share their toys, he's already lifting 80 kilograms in one hand and running a 100-meter sprint in under 11 seconds. It's insane. By age 7, he has completely shattered all ordinary human physical limits. He can clear 2 meters in a single vertical jump and run 100 meters in under 8 seconds. He's just totally dominating compulsory education, all while keeping this terrifying true power completely under wraps. Which brings us to this absolutely staggering number, 300. By the time he's 8 years old, Zichin is lifting 300 kilograms with a single hand. And remember, he hasn't used a single genetic enhancement to do this. No monster DNA, no cybernetic limbs, nothing. This is purely raw, natural human evolution pushed to the absolute extreme by his system and his own ironclad discipline. And this actually sets up a fantastic moment of dramatic irony. See, the media is going absolutely crazy over this 14-year-old Kyoto prodigy who fused with giant ant genes, which lets him lift 2,000 kilograms. Everyone is treating this kid like he's the absolute peak of humanity. But Zichin just coldly analyzes the data. He knows that gene fusion basically acts as a multiplier. So if you strip away that 4 to 8 times boost, the prodigy's raw base strength is really only about 500 kilograms. Meanwhile, Zichin's unboosted, raw strength is already sitting at 700 kilograms. He realizes right then that his own ceiling is vastly superior to this heavily hyped prodigy. Moving into Section 1. The looming threat of aberrant beasts and the cult. As Zichin grows up, the world around him is getting significantly darker. And this explainer really wouldn't be complete without taking a look at the grim reality outside the schoolyard. Cities are literally being reduced to rubble by grotesque aberrant beasts. These are giant mutated creatures like massive rats that just slaughter survivors. And it gets worse because you have heretical groups like the Rat God cult. These are human traders actively fanning the flames of fear and trying to feed humanity to these monsters. Which brings us to a massive reality check for our protagonist. 7. That is how many minutes it took a fully equipped, high-level female cyborg to take down just one giant aberrant rat in a brutal street fight. Zichen watches this explosive combat on the news and realizes that, hey, even with all his hidden strength, he's still vulnerable. One misstep, and he and his childhood friend Xinjing Han could easily be killed. It's a wake-up call that pushes him to train even harder. That relentless drive leads him to completely dominate middle school athletics, while still holding back just enough to avoid raising any red flags. He hits his compulsory education milestones, earns the title of middle school overlord, and then the system rewards him with something terrifying. A game-changing attribute called survival of the fittest. This ability allows him to literally devour the life essence of other creatures to permanently evolve his own biology. Now, the really crucial part here is how he actually figures out how to use this. I mean, he's still a kid. He can't exactly go out hunting giant monsters in the wasteland. So in this brilliant narrative beat, he goes to the local supermarket. He figures out that just by touching raw, exotic beast meat, like the super expensive ghost shadow squid, he can absorb its life essence directly into his system. He's unlocking new evolutionary guidebooks without ever throwing a single punch. The only catch? The meat instantly spoils the second the essence is drained, so suddenly he needs a massive amount of cash to buy fresh meat to keep fueling his evolution. Which leads us to Section 2, dominating the arena. So that sudden need for serious cash shifts our focus straight to high school. Zichen enters the elite Shanghai Middle School and quickly realizes that citywide martial arts tournaments offer these massive cash prizes, tens of thousands of yuan. To afford all that expensive beast meat and to farm a new system achievement that requires eliminating rivals, he finally steps out of the shadows and into the competitive arena. And right before his first informal duel against this highly arrogant older senior in the gym, Zichen drops this absolutely ice-cold line. He says, "I still need to go home for dinner. Can we make this quick?" And guys, he was not bluffing. He completely obliterates the senior with a single, perfectly timed punch, knocking him out cold and leaving the entire gym in dead silence. From that moment on, his dominance is just absolute. He officially joins the martial arts team and effortlessly crushes every single prodigy the other schools try to throw at him. He's sweeping the 8-school league with simple palm strikes and casual kicks. And then, in a pretty bizarre, honestly funny twist, his overwhelming string of victories triggers a system prompt notifying him that he has gained priority mating rights because he's displaying such peak fitness. He ignores it, of course, but it really highlights just how strictly biological and primal his system actually is. But the stakes really get raised when his class has to face off against the strongest second-year key class. They have this hidden trump card, Wang Zhen. He's a towering, overweight giant whose body essentially absorbs physical blows like a sponge. Wang Zhen looks down at Zichen and arrogantly taunts him. He actually offers to stand perfectly still and let Zichen attack him 10 times for free. It is the classic perfect setup for an epic counterattack. Well, as you can probably guess, Zichen doesn't need 10 strikes. He hits Wang Zhen with a single, almighty punch to the stomach that literally sends the giant flying through the air, flattening him completely. But he doesn't stop there. Zichen single-handedly retaliates against the entire opposing class, eliminating a staggering 39 rivals from the strongest second-year class in one short, incredibly brutal sweep. He just moves through them like a machine, knocking out opponent after opponent with terrifying precision. At this point, Zichen realizes that fighting standard, scheduled matches is just way too slow to max out his system achievements. So he pulls the ultimate flex. He goes directly to the school principal, demonstrates his monstrous physical strength by casually lifting a 700-kilogram weight, and sets up a one-man challenge. He declares to the entire school that he'll guard the ring in the gym for 2 hours every single day during lunch. Anyone is welcome to challenge him. He basically turns the entire student body into his own personal farming ground for system points and prize money. But while Zichen is busy dominating the schoolyard, there is a terrifying contrast developing in the shadows. Earlier, we see Zichen easily kill a low-level, street-tier rat cultist with just a handful of thrown stones while out on a jog. It kind of lulls you into this false sense of security. But deep underground, the true rat god boss is revealed. We're talking about a colossal, horrifying entity that casually crushes the skulls of its own followers just for making minor mistakes. It becomes incredibly clear that the true enemy looming over the city is far beyond anything Zichen has faced yet. So, what are the real key takeaways from Zichen's incredible journey so far? Well, first, hidden potential absolutely trumps early peaking. While these media-hyped prodigies are relying on static gene fusions, Zicken's raw, infinitely scaling base dots mean his ceiling is basically limitless. Second, adapting to threats accelerates your growth. Whether it's finding a clever loophole at the supermarket meat counter or literally turning the whole school into his sparring partners, he adapts. And finally, absolute, unwavering discipline is what actually forges true power.
Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought. Zichen is currently taking on his entire school to farm essence, but right beneath his very feet, the rat god cult is mobilizing an army of mutated horrors. As these two unstoppable forces inevitably clash, just how far will the infinite evolution system push the limits of what a human being can actually be? What do you think he's going to have to devour next just to survive? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the limits of evolution.